So remember when I made a video why the 12-45 f4 never leaves my camera? Yeah, about that. I might have stretched the truth a little bit. Because lately I've been slightly obsessed with my Panasonic 20mm 1.7. And at this point it's pretty much glued to my camera, my OM5. Why, you may wonder? Well, I think it's tied to my not-so-secret love affair to documentary style of photography. To capture things like how we see it in real life. There's just something about capturing life as it happens. Raw, candid. Or maybe I just enjoy looking artsy standing in random places with this setup. Who knows? Anyways, here we are. Welcome to today's video, guys. I'm Jimmy, a hobby enthusiast, documentary style photographer. That's the title. And today we're going to talk about prime lenses and why you should give them a try, or pretend at least that you have tried them. And what that means I'll get to in a bit. I really like this scene. I really like this boat being here for no reason. Yeah. So let's start with the basics. A prime lens is, well, a lens that has a fixed focal length, which means no zooming in or zooming out. You're stuck at 20, 35, 50 millimeters, which means that if you want to zoom, you're gonna have to use your feet. Great for exercise, terrible for laziness. But here's the thing, primes are sharp, super sharp. They're usually lighter, smaller, and they tend to have a wider aperture, which is great for low light. And it's always good to have the option, even if you're not shooting in those conditions all the time. It can really be a lifesaver in some situations. And before we move on, I just want to mention crop factor. Every crop sensor has a crop factor. My own system, OM5, has a 2x crop factor, which means that 20mm on this camera is 40mm equivalent on full frame. And that applies even to APS-C as well. So they usually have a 1.5 or 1.6 times crop factor. So just take that into consideration when choosing a lens. So why should you bother with a prime lens when your zoom lens can do it all? Well, here's the thing. Aside of the whole capture things as we see it in real life, it makes you have to think of your composition all time. You have to move. You can't just lazily zoom in and out to get the shot you want. You have to think about composition at all times. And trust me, it's not just about the movement. It's about being more intentional with your photos. Also, there's a certain charm to mastering one focal length. You start seeing the world differently. 40mm becomes the way you see everything out in the world. And honestly, it's kind of fun. After a while, you might even start to see composition without your camera, already imagining them in that focal length. It's an amazing way to train your eye. So let's say you don't own a prime lens, but would like to try one before you decide to actually buy one. Well, take your zoom lens, like this one, and put it on your camera, like so. Decide a focal length you want to try, and remember crop factor. That's something you really gotta keep in mind when choosing the focal length. So if I have my 12-45 here and I want to try a 35mm or something like that, I would go to about 17mm, 17 and a half, to get that shot. That way you can practice That way you can practice using one focal length and decide afterwards if you want that lens or not. So take one day and just stay at that focal length and just practice and, well, not practice, but I guess try it out and resist the urge to zoom. That's what I did before deciding I wanted my 20mm Lumix 1.7. I took my 12-45 and I put it on 20mm, and I went around in Gothenburg and shot a bunch of photos with just that focal length, and it works. It really works. Now, back to my Lumix 20mm. Why do I love it so much? First off, it's so small, practically a pancake, which is great because I don't like to carry around like a big luggage of gear, which is ironic because I have a big backpack full of my gear with me. And second, I love the color rendering of the lens, and the image quality has never disappointed. And lastly, it's just fun to use. I don't know how to put it in another way. It's just purely fun to use, and isn't that what photography is all about? That said, I would probably use it even more if it wasn't because it's not weather sealed. So whenever it's rainy or whenever the conditions tend to be rainy or snowy or whatever, I will be using my 12-45 and just, as I said earlier, put it on 20mm. But I have been looking around for the Olympus 17mm and the Olympus 20mm Pro lenses. So I'm really curious if any one of you have an experience with those two lenses. I would really appreciate if you drop a comment, leaving your thoughts about those two lenses. So there you have it. If you've been thinking about trying a prime lens out, I'd say just go for it, or at least fake it with your zoom lens so you can figure it out. But just remember crop factor, like I've mentioned like 100 times already. Look it up on the internet and see what crop factor your camera has, and just decide the focal length after that. Either way, I hope this video have given you some inspiration to try something new. And if you like this video, give it a like and consider subscribing. I've also decided to start selling my presets. It's only 2 presets, and I've dropped the link down in the description. So check that out if you're interested of my style of photography. But until next time, have a good day or evening whenever you're watching this. Out!